Question 23. The official government version of the London bombings on the 7th of July 2005 does not bear close scrutiny. In fact, the event was suspiciously close to the negative outcome for Labour in the 5th of May 2005 general election, a reduced overall majority of 56, and they failed to gain any new seats. Similarly to what Bush did by refusing any investigation of 9/11 in the US, the most serious criminal act in the history of the United States, Blair refused to allow any investigation of 7/7. The alleged bombers were supposed to have been blown to pieces by the blasts, thereby obliterating their identities. CCTV footage for all of Britain for just 4 hours of the morning of the 7th of July 2005 represents more than 6 million hours or 685 years of footage. Yet within a couple of days we were told what they looked like, with photos and all, and their names as well. This is logistically an impossibility, considering the police and investigators had no idea what they looked like or where to look. It should be noted that in all instances, as well as on 9/11, the alleged perpetrators are always blown to pieces and killed, so they are not able to defend themselves in the event they have been set up by the real perpetrators. Any person accused with a terrorism offence is never allowed to speak to the mass media and is kept completely incommunicado. Furthermore, as was the case in a court proceeding in Australia recently, their names were withheld for so-called legal reasons. In other words, everything is done in secret by Bush, Blair and now Brown, and innocent people are incarcerated for years in places like Guantanamo Bay and prevented from telling the world the truth of who they are and their innocence. In addition, for all of these devices to detonate simultaneously on 7/7 required sophisticated timers, triggers and detonators which would not have been available to alleged disgruntled Muslim amateurs. Nor has any explanation ever been given as to why 20 cement trucks from Rugby Cement, fully laden with cement, were turned back from delivering to Wembley Stadium on the evening of the 6th of July 2005, the night before that is, allegedly due to a so-called incident. This fact was relayed in person to a researcher for the Voice of the World just 2 days after the event. In Chapter 67, the Voice of the World refers to the complicity of British intelligence in the Beirut mosque car bombing on the 8th of March 1985, killing 80 people and wounding 250, mainly women and girls. The blast was so huge it demolished a complete street. When added to the hundreds of thousands of civilians killed in Iraq and Afghanistan, in addition to the complicity of Bush in 9/11 and the murder of the United Nations Special Envoy Sergio Vieira de Mello and 21 other United Nations personnel in Baghdad on the 19th of August 2003 by Bush and the CIA, it is now utterly clear that there are elements of the UK and US governments who have no qualms in the murder of their own citizens as well, for political and financial gain. This is pure evil. History has shown us that if a criminal thinks he has got away with his criminal conduct and actions, he will continue to do it on the assumption that he can keep it secret and will not be caught and found out. Do you want to see the most exhaustive investigation into the above? And if there is a case to answer, and if it is complicit, do you want to see the Labour Party deregistered as a political party in addition to any criminal proceedings against individuals involved in any part whatsoever in the above events? The answer people gave to that was an unconditional yes, with 10 minus points against the Labour Party. Question 24. Do you believe a vote for the Labour Party or the Conservatives will see the above-mentioned exhaustive investigation take place? Once again, we had a no, with 10 minus points against Labour and 10 minus against the Conservatives. Question 25. Do you believe a vote for the Liberal Democrats will see the above-mentioned exhaustive investigation take place? Here, people believe that yes, they will get the exhaustive investigation with 10 plus points to the Liberal Democrats. Question 26. The Labor government has been exposed by the Voice of the World as being party to and complicit in extraordinary rendition to Uzbekistan and other countries of innocent people and their torture there. The purpose of the torture is an integral part of the process to create and fabricate the phony war against terrorism. The murder and killing of Jean-Charles de Menezes took place on the 22nd of July 2005, just 15 days after 7/7. Do the people of Britain live in a police state? The observation is made that not one person has been stopped or apprehended and caught red-handed in the UK with explosives strapped to their body ready to detonate. If it happens to be a fact that elements of the British government were behind 7/7 and they knew full well that no individual of Arab, Pakistani or Muslim descent was involved in the event, how serious a crime do you believe it to be for any order or directive that police can shoot to kill any person on the streets of Britain before and without as much as an armed challenge first, or questioning, or any reasonable verification of their identity and bona fides as an ordinary citizen who must at all times be presumed to be unarmed, innocent and harmless? The answer to that was an unconditional yes, with 10 minus points against the Labor Party. Question 27. Social and economic justice for all peoples worldwide and the conformity to the principles of international law by all nations and states are the only acceptable forms of conduct and behaviour in the year 2010. If the Liberal Democrats win the election, do you believe we will see an end to this fabricated war against terrorism and a cessation of the interference by the UK in the sovereignty, affairs and lives of people in foreign countries? The answer to that was an unconditional yes, with 10 plus points to the Liberal Democrats. Question 28. When you compare your own state of affairs now to what it was in 1997 when Labor was elected under Blair, if the inspiration, if the economic credentials, if their overall competence, ability and political will in adopting the correct mix of policies which are right for Britain has still not happened, or even been forthcoming after 13 years, do you think it will ever happen under Labor? And as a consequence, do you think your own fares and fortunes will ever improve under Labor? The answer to that was a no, with 10 minus points against Labor. Question 29. The British pound to the euro has gone from a high of €1 being equal to 59.6p to €1 being equal to 95p. This is a colossal deterioration of 62.7% in the value of the British pound. The failure of the Labor government to join the euro in 2001 has cost the people of Britain trillions of pounds. To put this into its proper context, in 2001, if you sold your house in Britain for say £300,000, you could have bought a house on the Costa del Sol for €503,370. At the above rate of 1.05210, your 300,000 British pounds can now buy a house worth only €315,630. A loss to you of €187,740. And the cost of living is much cheaper in Europe as well. Plus, you have lost out further in the back and forth exchange of British pounds to euros or British pounds to dollars whenever you have travelled overseas. Who is to blame for your loss? Do you blame this deterioration in the value of the British pound against the euro as an indictment against the policies of the Labor government which directly affect economic performance, as well as their out-of-control egos, naked ambition, and unquenchable thirst for power and control for their refusal to join the euro entirely at the expense of the British people? The answer to that was a yes with 10 minus points against Labour.